Hello, I'm Titanic Spider, and this is a beginner's guide to Russian treaty. I'll be going over a basic deck as well as the boom for Russia. There are three types of deck that you can build, but in this video I chose Church card. So I'll pause on each deck if you want to copy them for later, then I'll go over the most important cards to make sure that you have in every treaty deck that you have. Like I said, I went with the Church card build because that's my personal preference. Everyone has their own. For starters, on Age 1, it's for Exploration Age, every treaty deck you're going to want the Team Cavalry card, even if you're playing by yourself, because your Cossack is one of your strongest units, and as you can see, it gives a 10% health bonus to it. My personal preference following is to have the Wood Trickle card. It allows you to have less settlers designated to wood. This way you can consistently be able to get your upgrades or your houses during the boom. Every civ that has economic theory available should always take it. It boosts every gathering for every villager or boat that you have. So very important and very vital card. Now specifically to Russia. Russia has very weak units, but they build in masses. You get 5 muskets, you get 10 strelets, and you get 4 halberdiers at once. So this card here buffs 3 of those. It buffs your strelets for its health and its damage, your Cossacks for its health and its damage, as well as the Opries for its health and its damage. The Russian specialty is that you can build faster than most units, most civilizations. So in this, with just the fencing school, your muskets as well as your halberdiers are instantly spawned, or instantly produced. If you also want the strelets to be instantly produced, because some people do prefer that, you can also throw in dueling school if you would like, but that's personal preference. Cossacks are a very strong unit for Russia, considering they only take 1 population, so it's also very important that you also get the riding school to increase all cavalry production. As I stated at the beginning, I personally prefer to use Church card. What you get with the Church card is an upgrade that you can use twice that fully upgrades all your infantry and all your cavalry to just below Imperial Age, which will save you on resources and time for upgrades. You will still have to do all of the upgrades for the artillery foundry as well, so that does not help you with your artillery. These are just your basic economic cards. These are your basic economic cards that you would get on this. Then here's a cavalry card to increase more for your Cossacks, 15% health and 15% damage. As well as here's another one for 20% for your health and damage for your strelets. It's very important that you have at least 1 infinite card. This way you don't stack shipments once you're in the middle of the fight phase. You want to be able to use the Falcon. You want to be able to use an infinite card at all times when you run out of shipments, or else you just have wasted experience. Falconets is a personal preference of mine because it costs you no resources, which means it saves you economy during the fight. You're not spending resources to make the horse cannons or the falconets, whichever one you choose. The horse cannons are stronger, but how can you beat 2 free falconets? Also, if you would like, you could have the Nootka natives as well. It costs you 1,000 gold, which is unfortunate, but the Nootka do not take up any of your population space, so it's technically an overpop at all times. Every civilization, every European civilization that has factories available will always take them, as well as now for your mortars, this greatly reduces the cost of the coin for the mortars by 50% and greatly increases the damage of it as well as the build time. One of the most important things about treaty is to make sure that you never stop producing villagers. So you can either use hotkeys or you can set up control groups for the town center, as well as the explorer. Setting up the control group or using hotkeys will allow you to look at the town center to produce more settlers without having to actually go back to finding the town center, which allows you to be easier to explore with your explorer. You want to make sure you send your explorer out not just for treasure, but to also reveal any surrounding mines or hunt. This way you're not looking for them later and you can just jump right into it. You want to get the first set of villagers queued up as quickly as possible, as soon as you have the food. Once they are done gathering the starting resources, you're going to want to put all of them onto food except for one. And when you do that, you want to make sure you shoot them back towards the town center, this way there's less travel time. You're going to use one settler to build a house, followed by a marketplace. You're going to need to gather 50 wood and 50 coin to get the first market upgrade, which will be hunting dogs. Hunting dogs increases the gather rate of food because that's the most important resource that you're going to need in Age 1. So you want to make sure you set enough villagers to gather wood as well as coin. And if you get treasures that give you wood or coin, that would be even better. You'll have to send less units, less settlers onto wood or coin. Like I said, we're going to go with the church build. And we're going to get the wood trickle first. That is a coin treasure, but because there's 3 guardians, if I sent my explorer to it, he would surely die, so it's not worth getting. But keep an eye on your resources at the top, because I'm getting very close to getting 50 coin, or 50 wood. Once I hit 50, I remove them from wood. As you can see, the explorer never stops exploring. It has revealed placer mine in the back, or silver mine in the back, as well as hunts on the side. I have a little overgathered, but that is all okay. It won't hurt you too much, but the sooner you can get off, the better. And immediately start getting your hunting dogs. For this build, I will be doing a 23 villager age up. It is possible to do it with 20, but because of the new update with the saloon and the church having trickles, you're going to need a little extra wood to get the church and the saloon. So with the wood trickle, you will get just enough wood to build the house as well as get placer mine upgrade before you even need to touch the mines. But you never want to stop building it and keeping your hunts close. If you can manage it, you can bring other hunts in closer to your town center as well. Only send one settler, as it is not needed to send more than one. You don't want to send your explorer out too far with Russian, because you're going to go into Age 3 very quickly, and you're going to want to have him nearby to build the first town center as soon as possible. So now that you have enough wood to get the first house, you set up your settler, and then you make sure he goes right back to getting hunt. The second shipment you're going to want to get is economic theory, because it gives you an increase to every gathering rate that you could possibly have. As I said, we're going to be doing the Age 3 age up. We're going to do the 23 villager age up. So make sure you have the next set of villagers queued up into 23. You're going to keep all of your villagers on hunts until you have the placer mine upgrade. You're aiming for 1,200 food and 1,000 gold, because that's what's needed to go into Age 3. So once you have enough wood, you should easily be able to get the gold upgrade and still have villagers waiting. Once you have 800 food, you're going to want to queue up your age up with wood. You're going to want the 400 wood because we're going to use age up very fast to go into Age 3, and you're going to want that extra wood for building town centers, because you're going to need a total of 1,000 wood to build 2 town centers. It is very important that you also get the upgrade, what is it called? The upgrade gang saw for wood, because as soon as you start your age up to Age 3, you're going to move most of your settlers onto wood. So now you have most of your side cleared. You want to get... I went and got as many treasures as I could, except for the one that I can't get. But now, so you want to place your explorer in a good location, ready to build the town center, unless you still have time to do more exploring. As you can see, I have hunt as well as mine right there, so I'm going to want to put a town center right there. As I said before, we only need 1,200 food, so we're going to switch almost all of the villagers over to coin. Or we can switch all of the villagers over to coin, because we need exactly 1,000 coin to go into age 3. If you got enough treasures and you did everything just right, you should have a smooth transition directly into age 3. You're going to hold any other shipments you get for age 3, because you're going to want to get refrigeration, which increases your gather rate of food, and then royal mint, which increases your gather rate of coin. And then from there, you're going to hold all shipments for age 3. While you're waiting, it is a good idea to try and find good location for both town centers. As you can see, I have the Explorer set up for the first one out there, and I'm going to put the second one in the back with the next mine. It is okay if you don't have a smooth transition. Sometimes it may only be possible if you do it with good treasures. But you're going to want to go straight into age 3 with age up very fast, and you're going to want to move all of your settlers to wood as soon as possible. You're going to want to try and put some of those settlers onto food, as you don't want to have your main town center idle waiting for villagers to be built. So you want to try and gather up to about 200 or up to 260 villagers. 260 food. If you are a little off, it is okay. As soon as you hit age 3, you want to get the next town center built. See, we had almost enough wood for both of them. You're going to take 5 villagers and you're going to get the next one. At this point, you're going to want to put most of your villagers onto food, you're going to need 3 town centers worth of food gathering. First thing, as I said before, you're going to want to go ahead and get you're going to want to get refrigeration to increase your food gathering. But you're going to want to focus mainly on your hunts. The reason why I'm leaving some villagers on wood is because you get the church for experience trickle, and then you get the saloon for gold trickle. They will slow you down when it comes to getting the next market upgrade, so that's why I keep a little extra villagers on wood. You'll have a little bit of idle time in the town centers, but it shouldn't be a problem. Now that you have both the town centers built, you can send your explorer back to exploring and looking for more treasures. As I said, Royal Mint will be your second shipment. Now that we have enough to get the saloon, we can also get the saloon. And I'm going to leave a couple of extra on wood, just so I can ensure I don't run out of space for villagers, as well as I can get the next 2 upgrades, because you're going to want to get steel traps and you're going to want to get amalgamation. Steel traps should be the first one that you get. As I said before, you're going to want to focus mainly on food, since it's what you're going to need to build your villagers. You're only going to need 2,000 food and 1,200 coin to go into age 4.
Добытчик. Готово. Добытчик.
So you want to first get steel traps for increased food gathering, because you're going to need it for your villagers, and then you're going to want to get amalgamation. Once you get amalgamation, you can take your other villagers off of wood. I try to leave one. This way this way I'm able to get the next house when I'm ready to get it. If you feel like you're not going to be able to get enough wood to get the house before amalgamation, make sure you get a house first, because you don't want your town centers to go idle as long as you're gathering more than enough food to keep them going. You want to hold any extra shipments you get for age 4. You should have 2 shipments by age 4 for factories, and at this point you want to still focus mostly on food, as you don't need a lot of gold for age 4, so make sure you shift around your settlers as needed. You can always cancel a group of settlers if you need a little extra food for the age up. You don't want to over queue settlers, because then you'll misjudge the resources that you do have, and then you'll end up finding yourself falling behind. As you can see, why did I not get the wood for that? Oh, that's unfortunate. As you can see, I'm having trouble getting the placer mine upgrade while maintaining enough unit space to continuously build settlers. You will want to get the fort wagon for the next age up, as the other upgrades are strictly units, and you will not need them since you cannot fight for the first 40 minutes. If you need to, you can shift a couple more villagers to wood if you're having trouble getting amalgamation, as you see I am. As I said before, you want to try and keep your hunts close to your town centers as possible, this way they have less travel time. You want to keep an eye out on the top left corner by your shipments to make sure you're not running into any standing units. You don't want to have any idle villagers. If you see that you're gathering far more gold than you need, and make sure you switch off and move your villagers around as needed. Unfortunately, my villagers up here shot them further away, and I will just have to fix it over time. It is okay to travel further away to get hunts if you need to. You don't want to go onto mills too early, and because it's a much slower gather rate than hunts. You're still going to want to try and keep more villagers on hunt than coin, even if it means you have to travel very far. As soon as you hit age 4, you want to get both factories building. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you don't have hunts that are close to the base. You end up running us really far away. But that's fine, it's still better to go chase down hunts than it is to build the mills. You want to make sure you never house yourself like I just did, because now I have an idle town center that could be building me settlers right now. As soon as the factory comes out, you want to place it down, and you want to, if you have the resources, you want to upgrade the wood gather and set the factory to wood gathering. Once you are done gathering for houses, you can move your settlers off to either coin or wood or food. But since we are now going to be able to go into age 5, you're going to go into age 5 with the extra 2,000 coin. At this point, you want to start setting most of your settlers to wood. You're going to want both your factories on wood. You want to overgather on gold because you're going to need it for your upgrades. When you set your villagers to gather on wood, you want to focus mostly on the outside circle because that's where you're going to be building your bases. When you're going into age 5, you also want to make sure you come back to the marketplace and get all the wood upgrades that you can get. You want to overgather on gold because you're going to want to send this card, Mercantilism, to get an extra experience so that you can get more eco cards. You want to focus on getting the food economic cards first. And then you want to get the gold economic cards. You should also be building your at least one mill and one estate. This way you can begin upgrading them as soon as possible. Once you hit age 5, you want to get some villagers to gather that gold and a villager to build the capital. Now that I got 1,500 gold, I'm going to send that card so, as I said, I can get the more economic cards. With Russia, you can only build 98 villagers unless you delete 2. So once you hit your max cap of 98, you're going to want to delete 2 villagers. If you delete 2, you can queue up another full group of 3 to get you that 1 extra. Now that both mill and estate are out, you're going to want to begin upgrading them. You're going to want to get the wood chopping upgrade first, since that's where most of your units are. And you don't want to send anybody to the mill or the estate yet. Since they aren't fully upgraded, you would get less gather rate on the mill and the estate. So you do the wood first, and then normally you'd want to do the food, but if you don't have the resource to do it, it's okay to get the gold first, as you are not gathering from either of those anyway. This is why it's very important to age 5 with the 2,000 gold, which will greatly help you in getting your capital upgrades, as well as upgrading your estates and your mills. Now, since I deleted the extra 2, you can now see I have 99 out of 100 units. It is okay if most of your units are still gathering wood, as it is going to be most beneficial to you, since that is going to be the most gather rate that you can get until you get all your upgrades. Once I get the food upgrade started in capital, I will begin to switch from wood over to food. You want to build 4 to 5 mills and estates as well, as you will be putting between 40 and 45 villagers on each. You also want to make sure at this point, if either continue gathering treasures, or you want to try and explore the enemy base as possible. Once you have all your eco cards, it is okay to start going with something else. Up to my personal preference, I like to get the church card, and then the fencing school, and then the advanced arsenal. Church card allows you to build an overpop of units. This way you have a stronger starting army, as well as it has a card in it that will upgrade all of your infantry and all of your horse,
Здравствуйте.
all your cavalry.
Строитель.
It'll upgrade them all to just below Imperial Age, which will allow you to save on resources, since Russia is one of the civilizations that will be using most, if not all, of the units that it has available to it. At this point, once you have both your estate and your mills fully upgraded and you have all the church cards, you are able to just coast through and gather as needed, and upgrade as needed. You want to make sure you get your arsenal built. You want to make sure you get every upgrade that you can see that makes sense. You'll see the ones that I'm gathering and the ones that I do not gather. You cannot get blockade in treaty, and you do not want to send spies, as it is very costly to when you're playing against real players. That gold could mean a win or a loss towards in a real match.
Добытчик.
You want to average between 40 and 45 villagers on gold,
Добытчик.
and the rest on wood.
Здравствуй, приказ будет сделан. Добытчик.
You want to make sure both your factories stay on wood, but you can get both the food and coin upgrade just in case you need to shift later. You'll notice that I will always avoid these two upgrades if I'm playing a land map. This upgrades the Grenadiers, which I personally do not use. And this one upgrades your ships, which you cannot use on land maps. You want to place your fort when you do get it. You don't have to place it right away, but you want to place it in a choke point. Right here, you want to stop any opponents from rushing to the side if they aren't already pushing through natives itself.
Что?
Now that you have it all set up, you can begin setting up your forward base. If you're playing one-on-one, you're going to want to try and set up around your entire base.
Строитель.
If you're playing with teammates, you will only focus on the front, which will save you on wood. But since we had to worry about all sides in a single player, we will build on all sides.
Здравствуйте.
It is okay if you don't do exactly 43 and 43 or in the 40s of both food and coin, as long as you shift them later or as long as you get enough of your upgrades. Because I will be getting the capital, the church card, I will not need to upgrade my infantry or my cavalry, as it will do it for me until the Imperial Age. Then I will have to get those upgrades. So once the blockhouse is built, you can focus specifically on upgrading the blockhouse itself. You can see I'm bouncing around from everything that I've got built already to ensure that I'm getting the upgrades that I'm going to need. Me personally, I like to make sure that I have a town center towards the front of my base as well. This way, I can constantly produce my explorer as needed or send more settlers to the front. That's a personal preference though. As I said, you do not need to upgrade the cavalry or the infantry.
Готов.
So the next shipment I will be getting will be the church card, so I can get that going. At this point, if all you're doing is waiting, you can begin to build your walls. You don't have to do them the way I'm doing them, but I will tell you why I'm doing them. You build them in 2 increment sections like this. As soon as it becomes the second full section, you can select a pillar, use your hotkey for select all, and delete the pillars. The reason behind that is it allows the villager to build the walls faster, and it saves you on wood, as well as if the pillar gets hit by a mortar or any siege ability, it will do splash damage on both walls next to it. So if you remove the pillar, they can only hit one wall at a time rather than 2 walls and the pillar. Like I said, the next shipment I will get is the church card. In this deck, I used the falconets. The horse cannon will always be a better artillery unit, but the infinite falconet card costs nothing. You get free units with it. So I personally will upgrade all 4, since the church card does not upgrade the arsenal, no, upgrade the artillery. In treaty, you're going to want to try and build 3 to 4 walls with your starting base on the outside. I did not chop the trees well enough to be able to do it, but this is against an AI, so I will not do it. But just keep in mind that you're going to want to try to get 3 to 4 walls, and if you give yourself enough space, you'll be able to build another set of barracks, stable, and artillery inside the walls, and build another wall behind that. Make sure you build enough gates that your military and your settlers will be able to get out of it.
Здравствуйте.
You don't want to designate too many of your settlers to building the barracks, as you have more than enough time with 13 minutes left to continuously build. And now that I have the church card, I can come over to the church, and this card right here, Westernization. As you can see, it sets all those units to veteran status. So you send it once. If you come over to the stable or the blockhouse, once that card finishes, you'll notice that they get upgraded to veteran status. Once that is done, you can come back to the church, send another 2,500 gold, and get that one. Let me show you what it says. Upgrades them all into guard. So all 6 of these units will just need to be upgraded into Imperial Age, Imperial status. Now all you have to do is upgrade those units into Imperial. As I said before, Russia will be using majority of the units that they have possible. Mortars, culverines, horse artillery, and if you have the falconet card, you will also be using the falconet, your musketeer, your skirmisher, as well as your halberdiers. Your main unit's going to be the musketeer and the skirmisher, the strelets. Your Cossack is one of your stronger units, as it is a 1-pop melee cavalry, takes up less space, but you get a cavalry out of it that no other civ has. You want to make sure that you try to explore your opponent's base without getting your explorer stuck in, but what you're looking for is any weak points in the walls, as well as where they may have placed their factories in the back. This way you know where to hit them and where to push, because once you get rid of the factories, they cannot consistently generate wood. We still have 11 minutes to go and only 2 more upgrades to get. You will, with the factory set to wood and 40 to 45 villagers on food as well as coin, you will be able to get all the upgrades that you need. If there are any treasures that you do find that are left, make sure you gather them, as that will only further your score as well as your resources if you find a resource upgrade.
Правильно.
Again, you want to make sure that you're always building enough gates so that if you need to get out of your base, you can get out of your base. At 10 minutes, we have the very last upgrade going and no longer need to do anything other than just wait and upgrade the walls. As I stated with the church card, you will have an overpop, but you do not want to send these 2 until you have all of your military units on the field. It is very important that you make sure you get at least fencing school, as it'll give you instant spawning musketeers as well as halberdiers.
Будет сделано. Да, будет сделано. Что? Готов? Что? Да.
You will want most of your starting army to be musketeers, as they are you do not want to put out strelets because they will have a weaker health than the musketeers, and you don't want your starting army to be weak. If you're against an actual opponent, you would want to take a unit and go look for their units to see what they're making, so if you want, you can prepare differently. As you can see, I'm getting instant spawn musketeers with the fencing school set up.
Да, сделаю. Готов?
Alternately, if you want instant strelets as well, you can take dueling school. But this is your typical starting army. 10 Cossacks, a bunch of musketeers, and any number of horse artillery as well as culverines as you feel fit. Once you have the full 200 out, you can come over to the church and you can send both of those. You want to make sure whatever building you have set to the military home shipment brings them to the front. You don't want any idle military in your base. If they were still spawning at your starting town center, they will stay here, and you may end up fighting with a smaller military population than you can have because you don't recognize that they're there. I know I only built 2 walls, but this is just a tutorial. So next you would want to build the stone walls later on before treaty ends, because it's faster to build your walls when they're wood than they are when it's stone. With the church card, you are very easily able to get to 230,000 to 240,000 with good treasures and good macro with as minimal idle villagers as possible. If you like the guide, please subscribe, as I will be doing other civilizations, and make sure to make new ones as new updates come. Thank you.